we got our maximum, which is 10 million merits in our KVK. And honestly, my toughest opponents have been always the infantry players, who are some of them is hard to kill. They can blink, they can dash, they can teleport. And I think that's the reason why I want to speak about infantry artifacts, because, well, infantry have been really resulted, and infantry have been really impactful around the Call of Dragons PvP since the Georrge and Skogul, and not only because Georrge and Skogul, I think because of the artifacts which we have in the game, right? One by one, we will discuss all the best infantry artifacts which we have done for marksman and magic. Now it's time for us to speak about infantry artifacts, right? First of all, let's start with the first one, which is a Dragonrift. Of course, infantry has two styles of artifacts, more offensive one, more defensive one, right? Dragonrift is, of course, more offensive one, which I generally never advise. Like tier 4 players to tier 5 players, I would never advise to equip like offensive infantry artifacts, because your legion will die really soon and you won't gonna be able to tank anything, right? Infantry unit attack, legion attack, that's I think too offensive for infantry hero pair, because I have tested before like offensive and defensive artifacts for infantry, and trust me, the difference is huge, right? But if we're gonna look at Dragonrift only about offensive style, 2k damage, if this skill defeats the target, your legion gains physical kin. So I think like Dragonrift is an artifact for like assassin type of gameplay for infantry, which is not that popular right now in the game, because everybody prefers infantry to be more tanky, right? So basically, if you just defeat your enemy with this skill, you are getting physical attack bonus, and maximum will be 32%, which is quite a lot, and also skill damage factor 4k, which is also nice, right? If we're gonna only mention like offensive stats, this is purely amazing, but not for infantry. That's my whole idea about Dragonrift. It's great, but not for infantry. Let's say you still want to use Dragonrift, I would say, I don't know, Nika Legions, Madeline and Nika, even sometimes Danfell, but I think generally more of a Nika playstyle would be suitable for Dragon Timer and Dragonrift, right? Because other than that, I think if you're gonna equip Dragonrift on Georrge and Skogul, they will just die too quickly, right? It's not gonna work. That's why I don't really recommend to invest in this artifact. The next one is Spring of the Silence. Yet again, one more offensive infantry artifact, offensive stats, infantry unit attack, legion attack, but unfortunately, still offensive stats are not that great for infantry, but at least Spring of Silence has some debuffs to apply to enemies, right? Deals diffuse damage to enemies, to 3 enemies in the arc, and like maximum damage would be 3.2k. Damage targets are slowed, march speed reduction 60% is quite high, right? Like for 10 seconds. So basically it means if you're gonna use this artifact on an archer or mage marches, like on a bunch, at least 3, you are kind of guaranteeing that you're gonna defeat them, right? Because 60% march speed reduction for 10 seconds will immobilize enemies so much that it will be impossible for them to escape, especially during wars, when like every single alliance is following the like infantry's movement, and that's the range that the players are dealing damage, right? So like 60% for 10 seconds is pretty high number. I think in general, if I'm gonna compare these two offensive artifacts, Dragonrift and Spring of Silence, I highly prefer Spring of Silence, because at least we are getting some debuff, at least we are getting some positive things around the battlefield. I know you won't gonna be tanky. It will be hard for you to actually like tank tier 5 players, but still I think it's better than Dragonrift, right? The next artifact, which is one of the oldest ones, is Dragonscale Armor. If we are talking Season 1, this is one of the best artifacts for Season 1, but unfortunately for Season 2 and Season 3, the artifacts came so good in terms of skill that Dragonscale Armor skill became pretty weak, right? You guys know that I highly prefer HP bonuses in Call of Dragons. I use like HP bonuses on every single troop type, which I think is one of the best ones. Here we have double HP bonuses for infantry and legion HP, which seems like a good one, but unfortunately the skill is not that impressive, right? The legion gains boon shield for 10 seconds, for 10 seconds, which is shield 2.2k, which is like level 1, up to 3 surrounding friendly legions, gain keen attack bonus 10%, right? Well, like in my opinion, this artifact was one of the best in season 1, but right now I'm even thinking about equipping this artifact to, for example, archer support hero pairs, which might be good, right? Like shielding 3 nearby legions and giving them 10% attack for 10 seconds. That should be great for even archers, right? But in terms of infantry, we have so much better skills in this game that this skill doesn't really look that impressive. Your legion gains ranged resistance when the wielder gains shield through rage skill, right? So it basically, this is Madeline's artifact. At the season 1, Madeline was the #1 meta infantry. That's also the reason why Dragonscale Armor was so popular at that time. But right now, I guess if you will get it, you kinda have to be happy because it's better than Dragonrift and Spring of Silence. But if we're gonna compare to other more important artifacts, I think Dragonscale Armor's rating went a little bit lower, right? So that's why this is not the meta artifact anymore, unfortunately. But if you have it, use it, it will do its job. At least you will be way more tankier than the offensive infantry artifacts, right? The next one, which is a Greymar's Warhammer, actually this artifact got popular after the introduction of army groups because you can actually stun the enemies, which is pretty cool. Infantry unit defense, legion defense, great stats, at least some tankiness from the attributes from the artifact. We have to mention that Greymar's Warhammer is actually the controlled type, which is the debuffer, and the skill which make this artifact kinda unique if we're gonna compare to other ones. Deals diffuse damage to 4 enemy legions, which is a quite good amount of number. Deals physical damage, and damage legions are stunned for 4 seconds. Effect can be triggered once every 10 seconds. So basically, if you're gonna run the army group for infantry or even for cavalry, maybe, but I think infantry will be better. And almost everybody will have Greymar's Warhammer. You will be just moving around, stunning everybody for 10 seconds. And basically you are stunning 4 enemy legions, right? It's a pretty cool artifact. I like the artifacts which enables you to have a different type of gameplay, which is really, really cool. In terms of like hero pairs where this artifact can be used, basically everywhere, right? Like that's the idea of infantry artifacts. If infantry artifact is good, you can basically use it on every single hero pair, right? I like that it has defensive stats. I like the stun to 4 enemy legions. So I think it's way better. It's better than Dragonrift, Spring of Silence, and even better than Dragonscale Armor in my opinion, right? The next artifact, which was kind of new artifact for infantry players, which you can get from the normal keys, which is basically free-to-play friendly artifact, is Deathless Vine. Infantry unit defense, legion HP. Basically, 2 most important attributes for infantry players is here, right? Which makes this artifact's rating pretty high. We have to remember that it's a control artifact, which means that we are looking forward for some debuffs. Inflicts immobilize on up to 3 enemy legions in a circle for 5 seconds, and grants a shelter to up to 2 surrounding friendly legions. Shelter is basically defensive stats, right? For that, artifact range is increased when leading an infantry legion. Well, yeah, basically. Immobilize legion cannot move, which is kind of stun, right? And shelter, defense bonus 20%, and immobilize can be inflicted once every 10 seconds. Let's read the additional effect. When a legion receives healing via hero skill artifacts, artifact skill cooldown is reduced by 4 seconds. Every 600 points of healing factor. Basically, it just said that it's amazing for Garwood, right? And Garwood is kind of tree. This skill is like spawning the like flower and it's immobilizing enemies. Basically, it's a perfect artifact for Garwood, which you can get from the normal keys. Garwood is also gettable from the gold keys, which make this artifact rating really, really high, right? This is one of the best free-to-play artifacts for infantry players, mainly usable for Garwood, because we want to utilize the additional effect which we have on this Deathless Vine, because we want to get some heals, which will reduce the skill cooldown for our artifacts, right? If you will get Deathless Vine, I think you should be really happy, because you will be able to use it most of the time during PvP, right? It's time for us to go to top 2. That's the Shield of Stubbornness. I think top 2 best artifact for infantries. I know it has infantry unit attack skill, which makes it a little bit more offensive artifact, but at least it's half. It has Legion HP, which is really good. But why I think this artifact is amazing? Because of the skill and how amazing it is to use it in the open field PvP. I have seen wars won by this artifact. I have seen this artifact having a lot of impact around the battlefield, and you can see you are basically throwing enemies around the field, so it will be easier for your range units to deal damage, right? Rushes in a designated direction, dealing damage to up to 3 enemy legions in air pass. Damage legions are stunned for 2 seconds and pushed to the end of the pass, right? And you can understand how many cool things you can actually do with this artifact. Additional effect: when a Wilder gains a shield with a rage skill, their legion deals 12% more hero scale damage. So basically, the ones which is here, we are getting shield, right? Yeah, Dunfell, and the next one should be Madeline, right? Madeline had shield here. Yeah, Dunfell and Madeline are the hero pairs which will use Shield of the Stubbornness. Basically, every hero pair can use this artifact. It is so good because of the Courageous Rush. It's basically stun with some more control, which can't be even better, right? So, if you somehow unlocked Shield of the Stubbornness, which I unlocked from the Universal Artifact Compendium last KVK, you should be happy, right? Unfortunately, I'm not infantry player. I'm not investing my legendary tokens on infantry heroes or even artifacts, but randomly I got this one, and I know how amazing it is, because I'm a fighter and I see every single fight by my own gameplay, right? Still, number 1 artifact for infantry players is SPIRITBONE TORC, right? This artifact designates whole idea of infantry troop types and how they should be played in Call of Dragons. Of course, defensive stats, infantry unit defense, legion defense, but the most amazing part about this artifact is, of course, Mocking Chorus, right? Which is the skill of the SPIRITBONE TORC. Grants 600 rage points and taunts up to 5 surrounding enemy legions, right? Taunt duration can be increased to 5 seconds. You also getting defense bonus to 30%, and plus you are getting 10% normal attack damage reduction and infantry counter attack damage bonus 20%, right? So basically, you might say, what are these numbers? Every single buff which you see on the SPIRITBONE TORC is the number 1 buff for infantry players and infantry troop types. Taunt is basically number 1 thing for infantry, because you want to taunt as much range units and in general your enemies, because that's your job. Plus, it's amazing for behemoth fights, because you can actually taunt the behemoths and you will tank the behemoths with the help of this artifact. So basically, enough is enough. I will say honestly, this is the best artifact for infantry hero pairs in Call of Dragons, right? If we're gonna speak about the hero pairs, it's pretty easy to understand. SPIRITBONE TORC is the number 1 artifact for Georrge and Skogul, and I still think that Georrge and Skogul is the number 1 infantry hero pair, right? So basically, it's easy to understand how I would rate these infantry artifacts in like 1, 2, and 3. Number 1 should be SPIRITBONE TORC for sure. Number 2 should be Shield of Stubbornness, and I would say number 3 is Deathless Vines, right? Because not only it's amazing in terms of skill, but also free-to-play friendly. Of course, it depends which kind of hero pairs you are using. If you are an infantry player, if you are Georrge and Skogul player, for sure, SPIRITBONE TORC should be your number 1 priority. Not only even unlocking the TORC, but also increasing the levels, because you can see how many important buffs you are actually getting whenever you have higher levels on Mocking Chorus, right? hopefully this guide was helpful because yeah, I know we have way more ranged players than melee players, but we still have to show them some love to help them to guide through the Call of Dragons gameplay, so they will feel important, they will feel the impact they are actually doing around the battlefield, and they will continue playing Call of Dragons, right? As always, I hope the video was interesting. If it was, press like, subscribe, and share. It always gives me more and more motivation to make more content for this game. I wish everybody amazing day, morning, and night. We are going to see each other really, really soon. Bye bye and good luck.